breakfast, 19 minutes past 6. The new year may have a lot of people wondering whether it's time for a new job. Last year, Trade Me Jobs saw a 54% increase in applications in January, and with 23,500 more people on job seeker support benefits as of December, switching up the career could be easier said than done. In the end, it can all start with creating the perfect CV. Recruitment agency Cultivate co-founder Tony Pownall joins us now for more. Morning, Tony.
Good morning.
How do you stand out from the crowd with a CV?
Yeah, well, it's a really big question to answer straight up front, but I would say it's a sales document. It's the first thing we need to get a head around. I think too many people go into it thinking, if I just describe what I've done with a bunch of mini job descriptions or bullet points around the duties of the role, that'll be enough, but it's really not. You've got to go in and get somebody's attention, and you've only got about 5 seconds to stand out, to have someone go, oh, they're a little bit different to the 300 or 400 other CVs I've read. I'll give them a call.
Are there some hard and fast rules that you would stick by? Because people say it shouldn't be more than a page. Maybe it should have a cover letter. Maybe it should have a photo. Where do we go with this?
Yeah, there's lots of theories out there. Look, when it comes to the way you write it, there's heaps of templates that you can use. Jump on Google, you'll find something. It's pretty universal in terms of the structure they use. But a few points I would make, 2 to 4 pages. A lot of people don't do it justice. Yeah, it is. And if you're coming from the UK, they're used to 2 pages regardless of experience. If you've been doing something for 20 or 30 years, it's hard to put what you can do on 2 pages. So 2 to 4 pages, lots of white space, bullet points, and be really efficient with the language you use. I actually tell people when you've done your final edit, go through and cut out a bunch of words. Get rid of those fillers.
Now, we've got an example up here. Is that what we should be doing, or is that
what we should be doing? Well, this is an example of what you should do, actually. Okay. Look, it's pretty plain to the eye, but the key here is focus on the achievements, not the duties. So what you're looking for, what have you done gone out of your way to do? Is there training that you've done? Is there projects? Did you get some feedback from a manager or a customer that you can put in at the bottom as a little testimonial? Do what you can to write some bullet points around what you do that's different. How do you go out of your way to do more? Show some initiative. That's what you need to focus on in your CV, not just what you did. I know what you did in your role. That's pretty obvious. I want to know what you did that was a little bit different to the other CV.
Should you put a photo on there? Some people think it...
I'm tending towards no. Okay. What you don't want to do is have somebody judge you for the wrong reason. There's a lot of bias out there. We all have bias, and you don't want to say, oh, Chris is in a suit, we're a bit casual here. He looks too serious. He looks too funny, whatever it is. I don't like his haircut. Oh. You don't want... I like your haircut.
It's a fresh trim.
But you just won't want people to judge you for the wrong reasons. So my feeling is leave the photo out.
What about with LinkedIn profiles? Should you put a link to your LinkedIn so they can sort of go and
your photo's often on LinkedIn anyway. So if they want to see a picture of you, once they've read the CV and you've caught their attention and you've only got 3 or 4 seconds to do that, then they can click through to the hyperlink you've got there in your LinkedIn and see your photo and read more about you.
I imagine AI is starting to play a role now, not just for checking CVs, but actually for writing CVs. Starting off with checking them, how do you make sure that when you give a CV to someone, or if you submit it online, it's going to sort of pass the algorithms and get past an AI checker?
Yeah, well, I'm a little old-fashioned. I read all the CVs that come over my desk or over my computer. But you're right, there's a lot of bots out there that are doing that now for us. You don't have to do much different. Large language models that drive this AI are pretty sophisticated. All I would say is keep the language really plain. Don't try and overcomplicate it. It ends up sounding a bit cliche if you try to get too clever with the language you use. And the only other advice I would say is if you've got quite an obscure role title that doesn't make a lot of sense outside the company you're in, just bracket that with what you'd call that in the general market.
Sure.
Other than that,
operations manager, for instance.
Keep it simple.
Yeah, sure.
Other than that, pretty much the same as if a human was going to read it.
And when you're checking them, do you find that people are using AI to do their CVs and you're just getting a lot of them that look the same?
Whether they're using AI or not, the problem is a lot of them look the same. There's not enough time and attention to really spend the time to think, this is a document it's one of the most important professional documents we write, and it's going to stay with us our career, right? So take the time, get someone who doesn't know you and what you do to read it and review it and give you feedback. I think if you're knocking it together really quickly and sending it off like an email, you've got a problem.
Yeah, I was going to ask you on that point. When is the time to actually look at your CV? Because sometimes people only start thinking about their CV when they're faced with a change coming out. Maybe there are redundancies or that sort of thing. You think, better get my CV together in case. Should we be doing that earlier just to have in our back pocket?
I think so, yeah. Pull it out from time to time, have a look at it. What I've said to people is keep a file in your email of all the good feedback or projects or things you've done, because it's hard to remember when the time comes and you're under pressure to write something to get it out to the marketplace. So keep that filed away somewhere and periodically jump in and just refresh it and update it when you've got the time and a fresh head. Because I've written only a couple for myself in my time, thankfully, but it took me weeks and weeks and probably several edits to get something I was actually
comfortable with. And it can be a few years between actual edits as well, can't it?
Well, hopefully, yeah.
Tony Pownall, Cultivate co-founder, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
I do. Yes, I do have questions. I mean, I have got my CV ready to go, and actually, when you were talking right at the top of the interview, I went...
First day back.
Well, no, I had it a year ago, so it needs updating. But then I looked at mine and went, after everything you said, I've got a photo, it's just list of descriptions, etc. But what I do want to know is if you're going for a job, how important is it to tailor your CV to that job, or don't you?
A lot of people don't. And I think the challenge is the technology we use today, things like Seek, is you actually upload your CV in advance. So that's sitting there in Seek's system, not yours. And when you're on the bus on the way home at night, you see a role there that you like on your phone, you hit apply and off it goes. So you actually don't have the option to do that as much anymore. I think in particular for senior roles, I think you should if you can. It doesn't need to be a lot of tweaking. You don't want to embellish it to the point it's not true, but just bring the couple of bullet points that are pertinent to that role up to the top and make it really obvious. As I said, you've only got 3 or 4 seconds. Yeah, so don't make someone go hunting for what they need to find.
We've got a wrap, but we're starting there, you're right. If you have employment gaps, like if you've been a mum, if you've been at home looking after the kids, whatever, what do you do there? What's the best advice you can give?
So don't leave gaps without explaining what the gap is. So put it in, front foot it. Like, there's no shame in being out of work, and there's certainly no shame in being at home as a mum with kids. I saw one that was beautifully written. It was actually really humorous, and she talked about being a stay-at-home mum like a CEO.
And
it was lovely.
Totally.
Absolutely, and it was fun to read, and it stood out and it's a little bit different. It's a little bit humour if you're up for that. It's a bit different.
I love it. But also, my husband stayed at home for that period of time with our boys as well. So mums and dads.
Yeah, keen to hear feedback on this.
Yes.
Breakfast at tvnz.co.nz or